Captain Bowman, as you know, there's been a great deal of adverse criticism about your conduct of the Choga Sar expedition.
Quite unfounded.
Well, that's not what's
The
being said.
expedition was not a failure. We got to within 300 feet of the summit, closer than any previous expedition.
But 2 members of your party died on that mountain.
MacPhail and Nielsen died, yes, but there was no failure in planning. They died because of the irresponsibility and cowardice of one man.
Cowardice?
Dennis Wainwright was responsible. He led the final assault on the summit. Had he have stayed with MacPhail when Nielsen fell, they would have both been alive today. Instead, he crawled back to the safety of Camp 6. He made no attempt to get MacPhail back to camp. In my opinion, MacPhail was still alive.
In your opinion?
Yes, sir. That is what I said.
Captain Bowman,
if it hadn't been for Wainwright, those 2 men, certainly MacPhail would be alive today. What Wainwright did was a disgrace to British mountaineering.
Thank you, Captain Bowman.
Thank you. My Lord, members of the jury, that interview went out on television at 8 p.m. on August the 14th last year. And the brief extract that you've just seen contains the libel of which my client, Mr. Dennis Wainwright, complains. Now, the defendant, Captain Bowman, apparently will say that his remarks were true. My client, Mr. Dennis Wainwright, denies this. Now, members of the jury, this whole case concerns events which occurred during an attempt to climb an unconquered peak in the Himalayas, Choga Sar. And since the course and history of the climb is important to an understanding of these events, a relief map of the mountain has been prepared. Now, this map shows the mountain from the base camp at 11,200 feet up to the peak, which is at 24,180 feet. And the site of the various camps are clearly marked by the green...
It's all very pretty, Mr. Lloyd, but could we not deal with it during the evidence? I'm very anxious to get on.
Yes, of course, my Lord. My first witness is the plaintiff himself, Mr. Dennis Wainwright. Mr. Wainwright, if you'd like to...
What religion are you?
Agnostic.
Please read aloud the words on this card.
I do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You're Dennis Mortensen Wainwright of 17 Aberlady Road, Fulchester.
I am.
Mr. Wainwright, what is your occupation?
I'm a slater by trade.
I thought you were a mountaineer, Mr. Wainwright.
Well, that's hardly a profession, my lord. It's more like an affliction. I just like climbing mountains.
Yes, I can understand that, Mr. Wainwright. I myself, in my young... Yes, well, perhaps I think we ought to get on, Mr. Lloyd.
Yes, thank you, my lord. How long have you been climbing, seriously?
16, 17 years.
You have a wide mountaineering experience, do you not?
I've climbed in quite a few countries, if that's what you mean.
Had you climbed in the Himalayas prior to the Choga Sar expedition?
The Himalayas and the Karakorums, yes.
Which particular mountains, Mr. Wainwright?
Annapurna, Makalu, Haramosh.
How did you come to hear of the Choga Sar expedition?
Steve MacPhail came to tell me about it.
MacPhail, one of the men who was killed on Choga Sar?
Yes, he was a mate of mine. We went climbing together in the Dolomites the season before.
Now, why did MacPhail approach you? I don't think this is disputed.
Well, they were short of a climber with real Himalayan experience.
Had MacPhail climbed in the Himalayas before?
No.
And the other man who was killed on the mountain, Nielsen, had he climbed in the Himalayas before?
No.
Had any member of the expedition been on the Himalayas before?
Joe Berenson, I think he'd been on one of the Annapurna expeditions in '69, I think it was, but he didn't get very far. He fell ill early on.
So that apart from yourself, there was no one on the Choga Sar expedition who had ever before climbed successfully in the Himalayas?
No.
Now, what about Captain Bowman? Had he no previous experience of the Himalayas?
None.
Yet he was proposing to lead an expedition to an unclimbed peak that had already cost several lives.
Yes, that's right.
Well, were you not surprised at his confidence in his ability to lead such an expedition?
Not after I'd met him. Nothing about Piers Bowman surprised me. He wanted to run the climbing expedition like a bloody platoon. I'm sorry, my lord, but it's true.
True or not, Mr. Wainwright?
Yes, I know, my lord, language.
Mr. Wainwright, I shall not warn you again. It is essential that we maintain some decorum in these proceedings.
Mr. Wainwright, when did your differences with Captain Bowman begin?
5 minutes after we met.
What was the cause of the disagreement?
Equipment, what we should take with us. He'd got it all planned. Lists as long as your arm. He's a great one for making lists, is Bowman.
You disagreed with his choice of equipment.
You're dead right, I did. I told him the tents he was proposing to use would be worse than useless on the Choga Sar. I mean, those last 5,000 feet are sheer hell. There's constant avalanches. You'd be buried alive in the tents he wanted us to use.
Who won that argument?
I did, of course.
Why, Mr. Wainwright? Why, of course?
Well, I was the only climber with any real experience of high-altitude climbing, my lord. But that wasn't the only reason.
What other reason was there?
Well, Bowman was still trying to raise cash for the expedition, you see, and I've been told that he'd been turned down by practically everyone unless he had an experienced Himalayan climber with him, and I was his last hope.
That, of course, my lord, is hearsay.
Yes, Mr. Lotterby. Mr. Wainwright, who told you this?
Steve MacPhail.
Your friend.
Yes?
And he is dead. Not a witness that you can call, Mr. Wainwright.
No, my lord, that's pretty obvious. But the fact is, whenever I threatened to withdraw from the XC expedition, old Bowman caved in and I got what I wanted.
Now, let us move on to the actual climb itself, Mr. Wainwright. You flew out to Kathmandu, I believe.
Yes?
Then you made your way by lorry to a place called Biropa.
Right, yes, we picked up the porters there.
Now, what was the state of your relationship with Captain Bowman all this time?
Frigid.
But you'd had no more arguments.
No, we spoke to each other as little as possible. Mind you, we did have a little turn-in about the porters.
These would be the Nepalese porters from Biropa.
Yes, I mean, whichever way you look at it, there's ways of dealing with people, aren't there? I mean, particularly Nepalese porters. Well, if you want a bunch of fellas to carry your gear up to 17 or 18,000 feet, you've got to be prepared to kick them up the backsides. But on the other hand, you can't treat them like a flaming guards regiment. I mean, you've got to be hard, yes, you've got to be firm, but, these fellas can make or break an expedition, so you've got to be human. You've got to have a bit of a laugh and a joke with them now and again.
And Captain Bowman disapproved of your attitude.
Yes, he was always on about maintaining discipline, about keeping people up to the mark. But when it came to it, he wasn't one to plant his boot on some wog's backside.
You were in favor of a physically robust attitude to the porters, and he was not.
Well, that's not my way of saying it, my lord, but it's what I meant.
Now, you made base camp at 11,500 feet.
Yes, it's marked there on the map.
And camps 1, 2, and 3 were at 13,500, 16,000, and 18,000 feet.
Yes, the climbing was fairly easy to start with. It got hard about Camp 4.
That's at around 19,000 feet.
Yes, well, you're on the glacier there, you see, and the going gets damn difficult.
Well, what was Camp 4 itself like?
Well, it was fairly secure. We'd put the tent half in an ice cave. It was just above a serac we called the Lollipop.
A serac?
A pinnacle of ice.
Ah, thank you, my lord. And camps 5 and 6, how are they?
Well, Camp 5 was further on, up the arete.
The arete?
A ridge, Mr. Lloyd, usually a very narrow, sharp ridge.
That's right, my lord.
Yes, I'm grateful for the translations, my lord. Mr. Wainwright, where was Camp 6?
Well, it was about 2,000 feet below the summit. The simplest way up was to Jumar up to just below the camp.
Jumar?
Jumar.
Oh, it's a device for climbing fixed ropes, my lord. It works on a sort of ratchet principle.
Oh, I see. Carry on, Mr. Lloyd.
How many attempts on the summit were made?
2.
Who made the first attempt?
Bowman and I.
When was this?
May the 5th.
How far did you get?
About 800 feet below the summit, then the weather got bad and we had to turn back.
The second attempt?
That was on the 15th.
Yes, and the party comprised of yourself, MacPhail, and Nielsen, did it not?
Correct.
Where was Bowman at the time?
Down the mountain?
That was on the last attempt that MacPhail and Nielsen died.
Yes.
Would you describe that last climb to the jury?
Well, the three of us had climbed back up to Camp 6. That was on the 13th.
That's 2 days before you made the final assault.
Yes, the weather had closed right in on us, you see. It was a complete whiteout. I mean, the snow made it impossible to see where you were climbing.
So what did you do?
Well, we just sat in the tent for 2 days and ate what was left of the food. There wasn't much. The others hadn't brought up any fresh supplies. Anyway, about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, the weather started to get a bit better, so after a brew up, we decided to make a quick dash for the summit. Nielsen had a touch of frostbite in his fingers, but he said he could climb all right.
What were the conditions like?
Well, they weren't too good, but there were improvements on the day before.
And how did the climb go?
Pretty good, actually. The first 600 or 700 feet were all right. We were climbing up this gully, you see. Then we hit this big snowfield. It was like trying to walk up a crumbling meringue. We must have been about 200 or 300 feet below the peak when Nielsen fell.
How far did he fall?
About 30 feet. It went down to him, but he wasn't too bad.
He was injured?
No, he's just badly bruised, he said. His frostbite was a bit worse, but he said he could climb on.
What did you do then?
Well, we had a discussion what to do, whether to go on up to the peak or back down to Camp 6. We thought the sensible thing to do was to go back to Camp 6. We were just re-roping ourselves to put Nielsen in the middle when this avalanche struck and Nielsen fell again. I don't know, it's about 300 feet.
You went down to him?
Yes. He was dead when we got there, quite dead. We were too exhausted to bring the body down, so we left a marker where he lay, and we managed to get back to Camp 6 about 6 o'clock.
Now, is that what you would expect other climbers to do under those circumstances?
Well, it's the most sensible thing to do. I mean, there's no point in you all dying on the mountain.
And you're sure that both you and MacPhail returned to Camp 6?
Yes. Well, I thought we did.
What do you mean, Mr. Wainwright?
Well, I thought MacPhail was in the tent with me, you see. I remember I talked to him.
Yet, when Captain Bowman and Mr. Berenson climbed up to Camp 6, Captain Bowman said on the television interview that you were alone.
Yes, I know.
MacPhail was found beside Nielsen's body, was he not?
Yes.
How do you account for that, Mr. Wainwright?
I can't, my lord. Either Steve climbed up to get Nielsen while I was asleep, or
Or what, Mr. Wainwright?
well, I just imagined that he'd come down with me, that it was an hallucination.
Mr. Wainwright, if I understand you, you are asking the court to believe that the MacPhail whom you allege you brought down from the summit, whom you allege shared your tent at Camp 6, was a figment of your imagination.
I don't know, my lord. I honestly don't know. Bowman said there was only one set of footprints around the campsite, mine, but I could have sworn that MacPhail had been in the tent with me a few hours before.
My lord, there will be expert medical evidence concerning the occurrence of hallucinations at high altitudes. However, there is another point I'd like to make.
Yes, Mr. Lloyd.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Wainwright, Captain Bowman claims that you left MacPhail and Nielsen to die on that mountain. Did you?
No.
MacPhail, in fact, was a personal friend of yours.
Yes. Yes, he was. I thought I'd got back to Camp 6 in one piece. I'm still not sure whether I had or I hadn't.
Have you known other climbers have hallucinations?
Yeah, well, one climber I climbed with thought he met Marilyn Monroe at 21,000 feet, but as she was wearing a bikini at the time, he decided it was wrong. I mean, if she'd have been in climbing gear, he might have felt differently.
Yes, now, would this phenomenon of hallucinations be known to Captain Bowman?
Oh, yes. Yes, it suits him to have a scapegoat.
What do you mean, Mr. Wainwright?
Well, the expedition was a failure, wasn't it? I mean, 2 climbers were dead. He was the leader. It's his responsibility. It's very convenient for him to blame it all on me in public and in front of millions of television viewers.
Now, Mr. Wainwright, when you got back to Camp 6 after the attempt at the summit, did you attempt to radio Captain Bowman?
I radioed Camp 5.
Was Captain Bowman there?
No, Camp 5 was deserted.
Did you succeed in contacting Captain Bowman at Camp 4?
No, he wasn't there either.
Well, where was he?
Camp 3.
At 18,000 feet.
Yes.
Were you able to contact Captain Bowman directly at Camp 3?
No.
Why not?
Well, the reception was too bad and the batteries were too weak. I was very lucky to get through to Camp 4.
Who did you speak to at Camp 4?
George Westlake, he was bringing some supplies up.
And what did you tell Mr. Westlake?
Well, I told him that...
Mr. Lott, beer?
Oh, I've no objection.
Very well. Mr. Wainwright?
I told him Nielsen was dead and we'd failed on the summit.
You didn't mention MacPhail.
I thought he was still alive.
And how long did it take Captain Bowman and Mr. Berenson to come up from Camp 3 to Camp 6?
Nearly 2 days.
And if they'd been at Camp 5, how long would it have taken?
Just a few hours.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Wainwright.
Oh, just a moment, Mr. Wainwright. I have a few questions for you. Now, on the last assault on the summit, when MacPhail and Nielsen were killed, who led?
Who led?
Yes, well, surely someone has to lead. Someone has to go first.
Yes,
Who was it?
it was me.
Therefore, it was you who was responsible for the safety of the other two, was it not?
In a way, yes.
Yes or no, Mr. Wainwright?
Well, it's not as simple as that.
I would have thought it was. However, I'll put it another way. Who was the experienced Himalayan climber among the three of you?
Me.
Who had the most experience of all types of mountains?
Me.
Who was the best known, well, certainly the best publicized climber of the three?
Me.
And since you were the only survivor, whose story are we supposed to accept?
Now, look here.
Now, you say you had climbed to within 200 or 300 feet of the summit when Nielsen fell.
Yes.
You were roped together, were you not?
Yes,
Why didn't the rest of you fall?
we did. We managed to hold on in time. Nielsen was the last man on the rope and he took the full impact.
Now, this was on the snow slope before the peak.
Yes.
You had a discussion there and decided to return to Camp 6.
Yes.
Now, you said you had Nielsen in between you and MacPhail.
Yes.
But you've just said that he was the last man on the rope.
Well, he was on the climb, but when he fell, we decided to...
We?
All right, I decided to put him in the middle. We were just re-roping ourselves, and this avalanche struck, and Nielsen fell.
Now, in order to re-rope yourselves, at least two of you would have to untie yourselves, would you not?
Yes,
Who was going to lead down on the climb down to Camp 6?
I was.
So, presumably, MacPhail and Nielsen were not attached to the rope when the avalanche struck.
No, I don't suppose they were.
Were the three of you close together when you were hit by the avalanche?
It depends what you mean by close.
Well, was there more than 6 feet separating each of you?
No, I don't suppose there was.
Nielsen had frostbitten fingers, I think you said.
Yes,
Was he able to re-rope himself, or was someone helping him?
MacPhail was helping him.
So MacPhail must have been standing close by him when the avalanche struck.
Yes.
Can you explain how it was the avalanche missed MacPhail?
I don't know. A rock probably hit Nielsen or something. I mean, things like that happen when you go climbing.
And yet you insist that MacPhail didn't fall with Nielsen.
He didn't. Or at least, I don't think he did.
Ah, yes, well, now we come to this alleged hallucination. You said you and MacPhail climbed down to Nielsen and found he was dead.
Yes,
You left Nielsen there, and you and MacPhail returned to Camp 6 together.
yes,
You also said you were in the tent at Camp 6 for nearly 48 hours.
yes.
And MacPhail was there with you all the time?
Yes, well, I thought he was, but when Bowman and Berenson arrived, he'd gone.
Do you remember him leaving?
No.
This hallucination, he was very persistent, wasn't he? Have you ever heard of an hallucination lasting for 48 hours?
No. But this one did, if it was an hallucination.
If it was. Now, during those 48 hours, you must have slept and ate.
Yes, I suppose so.
Did MacPhail, this hallucination, did he sleep and eat also?
Yes.
Did you talk to this hallucination?
Yes, I think so.
Did you reply?
Yes.
And what did you talk about?
I don't know, I can't remember.
Oh, you lost your memory as well, Mr. Wainwright?
No! Look, have you ever climbed anything higher than a pair of steps in your life?
Oh, you're the climber, Mr. Wainwright, not me.
Well, let me tell you what it's like. You've been nearly at the summit, and you've failed miserably. Your mate's dead. You're so cold and tired, you don't know what day of the week it is, and you don't care. You crawl into your tent and try and heat up some stew or something, or eat a bar of chocolate. You crawl into your sleeping bag and try and get some sleep, hoping you'll wake up at all. You're not thinking too well, you're not thinking too clearly. You're working at your physical and mental limits. That's what it's like.
Well, it sounds most unpleasant. Particularly if you've just left two men out on the mountain dying.
Nielsen was dead.
You were certain?
He had no pulse, and I thought MacPhail was alive and with me.
But he wasn't, was he?
I don't know, I keep telling you.
Now, after you'd eaten and slept, did you attempt to go back up the mountain to the other two?
No,
Why not?
I was too weak. The weather was too bad. Besides, Nielsen was already dead.
So you say, Mr. Wainwright, but surely you believed you had MacPhail to help you.
But he was a figment of my imagination, for God's sake.
Oh, you knew him to be an hallucination even then, did
No,
you?
I didn't mean that.
And obviously this hallucination was as keen to save his own skin as you were, Mr.
No.
Wainwright. You waited at Camp 6 until Bowman and Berenson appeared, did you not?
Yes.
Did you climb up with them to find Nielsen
Yes.
and MacPhail? So suddenly you were fit enough to return to the scene of the accident.
Yes. No, it wasn't like that.
I have no further questions, Madame.
Now, look. Bowman and Berenson were there to help me if I got into trouble. It was... Oh, God, if I'd known it was going to be like this, Jesus, I'd rather climb Mount Everest stark naked any day.
Your ordeal will be over shortly, Mr. Wainwright.
Thank God for that.
Now, Captain Bowman has accused you of responsibility for the deaths of MacPhail and Nielsen. Were you responsible?
No. They took their chances on the mountain like the rest of us. Next time it could be me.
My lord, we shall be hearing medical evidence shortly to the effect that Nielsen died of the fall and MacPhail died of exposure. Now, Mr. Wainwright, is it possible that MacPhail turned back to get Nielsen while you were on the way down to Camp 6?
He could have done. He could have unroped himself. We were all in. I don't think either of us knew what we were doing by then.
Now, you've been in many expeditions. You're a famous climber. Has anyone ever before questioned your courage?
No. Look, if I'd have wanted to, I could have made up a much more convincing story about what happened on Choga Sar, but I told the truth. That's the way it happened.
Yes. Yes, thank you very much indeed, Mr. Wainwright. Does your lordship have any questions?
No, thank you. You may leave the box, Mr. Wainwright.
I call Dr. Abel.
Dr. Abel, please.
What is your religion?
Jewish.
Take the book in your right hand and read aloud the words on this card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Doctor, you are Herman Abel of Mitre Court, Exton Place, London, NW3.
I am.
You are a registered medical practitioner and you're an expert on high-altitude physiology.
Yes.
How would you define high-altitude physiology, Dr. Abel?
It is the study of the effect of altitude on the human organism, my lord.
Thank you.
You were the doctor on the Choga Sar expedition.
I was.
You examined the bodies of Stephen MacPhail and Benjamin Nielsen, did you not?
I did.
When was this?
When they were brought down to base camp on May the 20th.
And can you confirm that MacPhail died of exposure and Nielsen of a fall?
That is quite correct. In the case of Nielsen, he had suffered a fracture of the left tibia.
Doctor, I would like to avoid technical terms, if possible.
Very well, my lord. Well, Nielsen appeared to have fractured his left leg and some bones in his shoulder. He also seemed to have sustained a fractured skull.
Were you able to estimate the times of their deaths?
Not with sufficient precision for this court.
Now, Dr. Abel, you will appreciate that the time element is important. Could you tell from the bodies of MacPhail and Nielsen which of the two died first?
No, my lord, I could not.
So MacPhail could have fallen with Nielsen and died of exposure, or he could have climbed back up the mountain hours later to Nielsen's body and died then.
It could have happened either way, my lord.
Sure.
However, Dr. Abel, in your opinion, is Mr. Wainwright's story of the accident consistent with the state of the two bodies?
It is.
Thank you, Doctor. Now, Doctor, let us turn to the question of hallucination, the fantasy MacPhail with whom Mr. Wainwright believed he shared a tent at Camp 6. Can a climber suffer from hallucinations at high altitude?
Oh, yes, indeed. At 20,000 feet and above, there is a definite deterioration in one's physical and mental faculties.
And this deterioration can give rise to delusions?
Yes. It can also cause great changes of mood, from depression to utter euphoria.
So MacPhail could have returned to where Nielsen lay dead in a state of euphoria, believing he could bring down the body by himself.
Yes, indeed.
These are hallucinations, Doctor. How realistic can they be?
Well, I'm sure your lordship will recall the classic case of Smythe in 1933. He was on Everest, descending alone from Camp 7, when he became convinced that he was roped to another climber. He actually saw the man. He even offered him some of his food.
Yes, I remember that story, but I always understood that such occurrences were very uncommon.
Well, there are several varieties of mountain sickness, my lord, in which hallucinations are commonplace. APOA, for instance.
APOA.
Acute pulmonary edema of altitude.
Yes, I'm none the wiser, I'm afraid, Doctor.
A respiratory complaint, my lord. The lungs become filled with fluid.
Thank you, Doctor.
Doctor, did MacPhail and Nielsen and Wainwright on that last assault on Choga Sar, did they carry oxygen equipment with them?
Yes, they did.
Yes, well, in that case, perhaps you could tell me, Doctor, how it is that any of them could have suffered from hallucinations induced by lack of oxygen when they carried their own supply of oxygen with them.
The case of Wainwright and Bowman will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court. 2 men died on the assault on Choga Sar, an unconquered peak in the Himalayas. Who was responsible for their death? Piers Bowman, the leader of the expedition, had no doubts. In a television interview, he blamed Dennis Wainwright, a well-known mountaineer and a member of the expedition, for the tragedy.
MacPhail and Nielsen died, yes, but there was no failure in planning. They died because of the irresponsibility and cowardice of one man.
Cowardice?
Dennis Wainwright was responsible. He led the final assault on the summit.
This is the second day of the subsequent libel case, Wainwright and Bowman, which is being held in Fulchester Crown Court.
Doctor, if the expedition carried its own oxygen equipment, how is it that Mr. Wainwright could have suffered from hallucinations caused by lack of oxygen?
There is no mystery about that, sir. Most mountaineers find oxygen more effective at heights over 25,000 feet. Choga Sar is just under that height.
Well, in that case, why did the expedition take oxygen at all?
Well, firstly, because oxygen can cure, or at least relieve, the symptoms of various types of mountain sickness.
Acute pulmonary edema of altitude, for instance, Doctor.
APOA, yes, my lord.
And secondly, Doctor?
Secondly, because oxygen is often necessary for sleeping.
Sleeping.
Yes. At high altitudes, mountaineers find it difficult to get a deep, sound sleep. With oxygen, they sleep better and wake up feeling very much more refreshed.
You mean the climber wears a mask and breathes oxygen actually whilst he's sleeping?
Yes, my lord.
Are there any other advantages of oxygen?
Well, it enables a climber to recover more rapidly from fatigue. In fact, it does reduce the effects of high-altitude deterioration.
Now, would it be true to say that if Wainwright had breathed oxygen after he returned to Camp 6, he would have recovered from these hallucinations, if indeed they existed at all?
I don't know.
But surely, Doctor, you have just said that oxygen treatment alleviates the effects of the various mountain sicknesses.
So you are oversimplifying the question.
In what way, Dr. Amor?
Well, my lord, when a man climbs a very high mountain, he is, by the very nature of his own organism, stretching human endurance to its limits. And at these limits, every human being tends to react differently.
Let me put the question another way, Dr. Abel. Is it possible that if Wainwright had taken oxygen after he'd returned to Camp 6, he would have cured his hallucinations?
It is possible, yes. Equally, it is possible that it might have had only minimal effect.
Nevertheless, if you had been at Camp 6 and Mr. Wainwright had staggered in alone, but convinced he was in the imaginary company of Stephen MacPhail, would you have given him oxygen?
Well, that is a
It's a
completely
simple
different
question, Doctor. Please answer yes or no.
Yes.
Yes. Now, do you know whether Mr. Wainwright made use of the bottles of oxygen at Camp 6?
Yes, I asked him. He said he hadn't.
Now, Mr. Wainwright is an experienced mountaineer, a Himalayan expert, is he not? Would you not expect him to be familiar with the effects of oxygen?
Yes, of course.
But in this case, he appears to have shown no evidence of any such familiarity. As far as he was concerned, oxygen might not have existed.
Sir, beyond a certain level of exhaustion, a person might not have the lucidity or the will to question whether something which appeared perfectly normal was real or imaginary. If you came into camp with one of the companions you started out with, surely the last thing you would suspect was that it was a figment of your imagination.
How long does an hallucination last, Doctor?
I don't know.
Oh, come now, you can do better than that.
I told
An
you I
hour,
don't know.
a day, a week, a year?
I don't know. You can't generalize.
All right then, Doctor. In your experience, have you ever known anyone suffer from a high-altitude hallucination for 48 hours?
No, but it's not impossible.
I asked you if you had ever known such a case.
I said no.
No. Now, when you saw Wainwright at base camp after he'd come off the mountain, was he still suffering from these hallucinations?
No, but base camp was about 10 or 11,000 feet lower than Camp 6. I wouldn't have expected him to still have hallucinations at that altitude.
Did you in fact discover any medical evidence that Mr. Wainwright had had any hallucinations at all?
No, but hallucinations don't leave any physical marks. I mean, you don't come out in spots afterwards or anything like that.
So it would be true to say, would it not, Doctor, that the only hard evidence you have that Wainwright suffered from any hallucinations at all is his own unsupported testimony?
Of course it is. You don't usually see other people's hallucinations.
And since you were not at Camp 6, you cannot even say what state Wainwright was in when he was found by Captain Bowman and Mr. Berenson.
That is true.
You therefore have no means of knowing whether Wainwright's story about his hallucinations is true or false.
Well, I don't
yes
think he'd come
no,
out.
Doctor?
No.
No. Now, one last point. You said that Nielsen had fractured his left leg, his shoulder, probably his skull.
Yes.
Now, in your opinion, were these injuries sufficient in themselves to have killed Nielsen instantaneously?
I don't know.
You don't know, Dr. Abel?
I had no means of finding out the extent of his injuries, my lord. On Choga Sar, there were no facilities for post-mortem examinations. We buried Nielsen on the mountain. But in any case, you must remember that conditions of over 20,000 feet are such that even relatively mild injuries can kill.
Nevertheless, Doctor, it is possible, is it not, that Nielsen might still have been alive when Wainwright left him to go back to Camp 6?
Well, I hardly think that he would have left a man...
Is it possible, Doctor, yes or no?
Yes, it is possible.
Thank you, Doctor.
On the other hand, Doctor, it is probable, is it not, that Nielsen was in fact dead, either killed in the avalanche or dying very shortly afterwards?
Almost certainly.
Thank you, Doctor. Now, Dr. Abel, did Captain Bowman and Mr. Wainwright get on well together?
They did not.
There was a clash of personalities.
Continuously.
About any particular subject?
About every subject. Wainwright had only to say something for Bowman to disagree with him, and vice versa.
Are they very different types of men?
Yes, indeed. They're both highly competitive. Climbing is a very competitive sport. But Wainwright is a more jovial, hail fellow, well-met type of person. Bowman is very withdrawn. He's a very private man. He has his own standards. Some might describe them as puritanical. He doesn't find it easy to be casual.
A cold man?
Yes, I would say so.
You used the word puritanical. What did you mean exactly?
Well, I can give you an example. There was beer and whiskey at base camp, and Wainwright used to have a drink of an evening. He's fond of a drink. Bowman was always horrified by this. He's a teetotaler himself. He once told me that going to the mountains was like a pilgrimage, like going into retreat.
Now, you're in a position to see both sides of this clash between Captain Bowman and Mr. Wainwright.
Yes. One thing you mustn't do as a doctor is to take sides.
Now, when they brought MacPhail and Nielsen's bodies down, did Captain Bowman accuse Mr. Wainwright of cowardice then?
No, sir, he did not.
Did he, at any time, while you were in Nepal, blame Wainwright for what had happened?
No.
Did you see Captain Bowman after you returned to London?
Yes, a couple of times.
And had his attitude to Wainwright changed by then?
No, he still didn't like Wainwright, of course, but he didn't say he thought he was to blame for the 2 deaths.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Abel. No further questions, Lord.
Well, you may leave the box, and thank you, Dr. Abel.
That completes the case for the plaintiff, my lord.
My lord, there are 3 witnesses for the defence. The first is the defendant himself, Captain Bowman.
What is your religion?
Catholic.
Take the book in your right hand and read aloud the words on this card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You are Captain Piers Bowman of Powers Court, Metton, near Fulchester.
I am.
You are an officer serving in Her Majesty's forces.
Yes.
You were leader of the Choga Sar expedition.
Yes.
Captain Bowman, did you appear on the ITV magazine programme Exploit on June the 4th of last year?
I did.
And in the programme, did you make certain comments about the plaintiff, Mr. Dennis Wainwright, which formed the basis of his action against you?
Yes.
And is it the basis of your defence that those comments were true?
Every word I said was the truth.
You are saying, then, that Mr. Wainwright was responsible for the deaths of MacPhail and Mr. Nielsen?
I am. If he'd have done what any decent man would have done under the circumstances, MacPhail would have been alive today.
Now, what made you choose Choga Sar for your expedition?
Because it's unconquered. No one had put a foot on the summit. I wanted to be the first.
Now, you and Mr. Wainwright made the first assault on the summit, did you not?
Yes, on May 5th.
How close did you get to the summit?
It's within 700 or 800 feet, not close enough.
Could you show the court approximately where you reached?
Yes, of course. There, we'd just started climbing the big snowfield immediately beneath the summit.
You must have been relatively near where Nielsen was to fall.
Yes.
What were the climbing conditions like?
Not bad. Not as bad as I thought they might be.
You saw no sign of avalanches?
No.
Why did you turn back?
Wainwright, he didn't want to go on.
It was bloody snowing. Ask him. Go on, ask him.
Mr. Wainwright.
I'm sorry, my lord.
Mr. Wainwright, you've had your chance to speak. It is now Captain Bowman's turn.
Yes, I know, my lord. I'm sorry. It won't happen again.
No, Mr. Wainwright, it will not.
Was it snowing, Captain Bowman?
Yes, but it was not a complete whiteout.
You could still see to climb.
Yes.
Did you wish to continue?
I did. It would have been foolhardy to try it on my own. In any case, Wainwright was distinctly windy, so we went back to Camp 5.
Windy? Now, what do you mean by that, Captain Bowman?
Scared, overcautious.
Did Mr. Wainwright give you any reason for wishing to give up the assault?
The weather, he thought it might get worse.
And did it?
Not for several hours.
Now, in your opinion, would that have given you time to reach the summit?
Hard to say, possibly. At least we would have tried.
Now, what happened when you got back to Camp 6?
We ate, slept, then the conditions did get bad, so we returned to Camp 5. Wainwright volunteered to stay there, whilst I went down to Camp 3 to organize further supplies.
When did MacPhail and Nielsen join Wainwright?
On the 9th, I think, they helped bring up the supplies.
Were you in contact with them all this time?
Yes, by radio. MacPhail told me that Wainwright wanted another go at the summit. He proposed that the three of them should make another assault as soon as the weather conditions began to clear.
Now, we know they left Camp 6 on the 15th of May. What was the weather like then?
According to MacPhail, not too bad.
Now, when did Wainwright make contact again?
Late on the 16th. He spoke to George Westlake, who'd taken up some stores.
My lord, Mr. Westlake will be appearing as a witness for the defense. Captain Bowman, where were you when Mr. Wainwright sent his radio message?
At Camp 3, still organizing the supplies.
And you and Mr. Berenson then climbed up to Camp 6?
Yes. Wainwright had told Westlake that Nielsen was dead. Berenson and I went up to help he and MacPhail bring down the body.
Where was Mr. Wainwright when you arrived at Camp 6?
He was in the tent, alone.
What did Mr. Wainwright say when you arrived?
He was very upset. He explained how Nielsen had fallen. I asked him where MacPhail was.
And what was his reply?
He said he didn't know. He said that he must have either gone up to Nielsen or come down the mountain to meet us. He certainly didn't come down.
Did you accept Mr. Wainwright's story?
No, sir.
Why not?
There was no evidence that MacPhail had been in the tent recently. His sleeping bag had not been slept in. Only one lot of food had been eaten. Whatever had happened to MacPhail, he certainly didn't return to Camp 6.
You and Mr. Berenson and Mr. Wainwright then went up to where Nielsen had fallen.
Yes, sir.
What did you find?
We found Nielsen and MacPhail. MacPhail had tried to make a shelter for them both. He was beside Nielsen's body. He'd obviously been trying to keep them warm. They were both dead.
Captain Bowman, had you been in Mr. Wainwright's situation on that fatal climb, what action would you have taken when Nielsen fell?
If Nielsen had been dead, I'd have gone back with MacPhail to radio from Camp 6.
Which is what Mr. Wainwright said he did.
He's lying. Nielsen obviously wasn't dead, otherwise why would MacPhail have stayed with him?
What action would you have taken if Nielsen had still been alive?
Either stayed with him and sent MacPhail back to make the radio call, or we'd have tried to get him down the mountain. Instead, Wainwright left them there to die. I call that cowardice.
Now, lastly, Captain Bowman, and I'd like you to think about this very carefully, when you found Mr. Wainwright at Camp 6, in what condition was he?
Reasonably fit.
Did he strike you in any way as being strange or hallucinated?
No, sir, he seemed perfectly normal. He was perfectly normal.
Captain Bowman, how would you expect an hallucinated man to look?
Bewildered, unsure of himself.
And Mr. Wainwright was neither of these?
No, sir.
Have you ever seen anyone suffering from hallucinations?
Yes, once.
And what was the cause of these hallucinations?
Fluid on the lung.
An edema?
That is what it is called.
Have you any experience of high altitudes?
It depends what you call high.
Above 20,000 feet?
Some.
But not much?
Not a great deal.
Not as much as Mr. Wainwright?
No, that is something he continually reminded me of.
How would you describe Mr. Wainwright as a climber?
An excellent technician.
Not a great climber?
You need more than technique to be a great climber. In my opinion, Wainwright is too much of a showman.
A showman?
He's far too concerned with what I believe they call his image.
His public image?
Yes.
You and Mr. Wainwright did not see eye to eye on this expedition.
We had our differences.
Indeed, I suggest that you resented the necessity of his presence at all.
That is not true.
Well, surely you needed an experienced Himalayan climber in order to raise sufficient support for your expedition, did you not?
Perhaps.
In fact, you needed someone with Mr. Wainwright's public image. You resented Mr. Wainwright from the start because he overshadowed you.
Nonsense. If I resented Wainwright at all, and I'm not saying that I did, it was because it was so damn difficult.
Difficult?
Yes, difficult.
He didn't take kindly to your orders.
He didn't listen to a damn word I said.
Particularly when he didn't follow you on a foolhardy assault on Choga Sar on May the 5th.
He didn't go with me because he was windy.
Or else perhaps because as an experienced Himalayan climber, he knew how quickly conditions could change.
We could probably have made the summit in time.
Could have probably. And because he refused to risk his neck on those last 700 or 800 feet, he did you out of your chance of glory, did he not?
I don't climb mountains for glory.
Then why choose Choga Sar, an unconquered peak?
Because it is still unconquered. Because 3 expeditions have tried and failed. And because I didn't want my first expedition in the Himalayas to be a repetition of what Bonington and Willens had done on Annapurna or K2.
You wanted to be the first?
Yes.
And instead, on your first Himalayan expedition, you fail and you lose 2 climbers.
The deaths of MacPhail and Nielsen are not my responsibility.
You were leader of that expedition?
Yes.
Then surely everything that happens on an expedition is ultimately the leader's responsibility.
I wasn't the one that left them there to die whilst I crawled back to the safety of Camp 6.
But there is absolutely no evidence to suggest that Mr. Wainwright did that either.
I think there is. After we'd found the bodies, his attitude became distinctly shifty.
Shifty?
Yes. Well, I mean, all this business about hallucination. He was merely trying to save his own skin. Very well, he should have had the courage to say so.
Now, when do you say that Mr. Wainwright's attitude became shifty?
When?
Yes.
I told you after we'd found the bodies.
Immediately afterwards?
I didn't have a stopwatch on me, if that's what you mean.
All right, let's try and recreate the scene then, shall we? There you are. There's you and Mr. Berenson and Mr. Wainwright. You're some 500 feet from the summit of Choga Sar at an altitude of approximately 23,000 feet. Was it still snowing, by the way, when you went to collect the bodies?
Not badly. Odd flurries.
Oh, yes. Well, there you are then. You're in the middle of flurries of snow and you're struggling to carry 2 dead bodies down the side of a mountain. Is that a pretty fair picture of things so far, Captain?
Yes.
Yes, and are you asking the court to believe that in the midst of all this activity, both physical and meteorological, you had time to cross-examine Mr. Wainwright and find that his attitude was shifty?
I didn't examine Wainwright's attitude on the spot.
To whom did you first mention your suspicions?
Joe Berenson.
When?
I don't know, sometime whilst we were returning to base camp, I think.
Did you mention these suspicions to anyone else?
No, not at the time.
Captain Bowman, isn't it true that you had no suspicions regarding Mr. Wainwright's conduct until you returned to London and you found that you were being blamed for the failure of the Choga Sar expedition?
I had mentioned it to 1 or 2 people.
When you saw Dr. Abel in London, did you talk about the expedition?
Yes, of course.
Did you mention your criticism of Mr. Wainwright then?
No, they were old friends.
Isn't it true that the first occasion that you publicly criticised Mr. Wainwright was on that television programme?
I told you I'd mentioned it to 1 or 2 people.
Who?
Friends. George Westlake, for example.
I put it to you once again, Captain. Isn't it true that if that television interviewer had not specifically blamed you for the failure of the Choga Sar expedition, you would never have thought of blaming it on Mr. Wainwright?
What I fail to see how Captain Bowman can possibly answer that question. How on earth can he say what he would have said if the television interviewer's questions had been different?
I agree, Mr. Lotterby. Mr. Lloyd, I don't see that this line of questioning leads us anywhere.
As your lordship pleases. Captain Bowman, you told Dr. Abel, did you not, that you regarded climbing a mountain as a pilgrimage, like going into retreat?
I may have said something of the sort.
And it is true, is it not, that for you mountaineering is a very special kind of experience, almost akin to a religious experience?
Yes.
Could you describe to the jury the nature of the experience?
I would find it very difficult. There are no words to describe it.
Try, Captain.
Well, first there's the mountain. Big, cold, clear, remote. You and a few chosen companions have to battle to master it. And master yourselves, too, that's very important. I suppose you could say there's a kind of discipline and danger about it. I don't really know what more I can say.
You said it very well, Captain. You're a religious man?
I'm not sure.
Well, what is meant by going into retreat?
One withdraws briefly from ordinary life and submits oneself to a monastic discipline.
Have you ever been into retreat?
I really don't see what this has to do with the case.
My lord, I must agree with my client. In my opinion, his religious views are hardly germane.
In my opinion, they are, Mr. Lotterby. The witness will answer the question.
Very well, my lord. Yes, I have been into retreat.
Where?
Roussel, last year.
Roussel, what is that?
It's a Cistercian monastery in France.
And the Cistercians are a very strict and disciplined order, are they not?
It depends on the monastery.
Was Roussel very strict?
Yes.
You're a teetotaler, are you not, Captain?
Yes.
You smoke?
No.
Are you married?
No.
How long have you been in the army?
10 years.
Have you found being a noted climber advantageous or disadvantageous to your army career?
I really couldn't say.
Try, Captain.
Well, one has to be fit in order to climb. It's a soldier's duty to be fit.
And the subsequent publicity. If you're a successful climber, surely that can only assist your career.
That is not why I climb mountains.
Perhaps not, Captain, but it does provide you yet another motive for your attack on Mr. Wainwright. More than just your vanity was affected by the resounding public failure of Choga Sar. Anyway, we'll move on. Captain Bowman, how would you describe your career in mountaineering to date?
Satisfactory.
Oh, come on now, you're being too modest. You have a record of many distinguished climbs in the Alps and the Dolomites.
You're very kind, sir.
Yes, and I see you've also climbed in the Andes and Patagonia, have you not?
I have climbed in many places.
But not in the Himalayas before.
No.
Isn't it true to say that the Himalayas represent the greatest challenge to a climber?
I wouldn't agree. I think there are harder climbs than some of the Himalayan peaks.
Well, how would you know? That was your first attempt in the Himalayas. Still, to lead a successful Himalayan expedition must surely be the final accolade to a distinguished career.
I am not interested in accolades.
You're not interested in publicity?
No, it's the challenge that counts.
Then if you're so uninterested in publicity, Captain Bowman, why on earth did you go on television in the first place?
Because I was asked to, and I thought it was my duty.
Your duty?
Yes, the more publicity climbing gets, the easier it is to raise money for future expeditions.
For your expeditions?
Not just for my expeditions, for all future expeditions.
Still, publicly blaming Mr. Wainwright for your own failure can hardly have done climbing any good.
Nor can Wainwright's cowardice. And I don't accept that lying about what happened on Choga Sar is good for climbing either. I don't tell lies, I tell the truth.
It's a very convenient truth, Captain Bowman, that removes the blame from your own shoulders and places it on those of Mr. Wainwright. However, final point. What was Stephen MacPhail's position with the expedition?
He was deputy leader.
He was your second in command?
Yes.
So in your absence from the last assault on Choga Sar, he was in charge?
No, it's not that simple.
I would have thought it was, Captain Bowman. No further questions.
Captain Bowman, my learned friend just asked you a question, and like a jesting pilot, wouldn't wait for an answer. I will, however. Would Mr. MacPhail have been in charge of the assault on the summit?
No, of course not. Wainwright was a Himalayan expert. He'd already had one go on the summit with me. He would have led the second assault.
The man with experience, the man who already knew the terrain.
Precisely.
Now, when you went on television, that was the first time, was it not, you made public your opinion of Mr. Wainwright's conduct?
Yes, I thought it was my duty to speak out.
Now, what do you mean by that, Captain Bowman?
Well, I thought I owed it to the two men who died, and also to the other members of my expedition. Climbing, particularly at that altitude, is a very dangerous sport. The possibility of failure is always with you. But it's one thing to be beaten by the mountain. It's another thing to be beaten by Mr. Wainwright.
Is there any part of what you said on television that you would like to reconsider or withdraw?
No, sir.
If you went on television again tomorrow, you would say exactly the same things.
I would tell the truth, as I did then. I see no virtue in lying.
The case of Wainwright and Bowman will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court. Two men died on the assault on Choga Sar, an unconquered peak in the Himalayas. Who was responsible for their death? Piers Bowman, the leader of the expedition, had no doubts. In a television interview, he blamed Dennis Wainwright, a well-known mountaineer and a member of the expedition, for the tragedy.
MacPhail and Nielsen died, yes, but there was no failure in planning. They died because of the irresponsibility and cowardice of one man.
Cowardice?
Dennis Wainwright was responsible. He led the final assault on the summit.
This is the last day of the subsequent libel case, Wainwright and Bowman, which is being heard in Fulchester Crown Court.
You are Joseph Charles Berenson of 1021 Western Drive, Victoria, British Columbia, Canada.
Yes,
You are a Canadian citizen.
yes.
You were a member of the Choga Sar expedition.
Sure.
Had you climbed with Captain Bowman before?
Yeah, many times. We've made many ascents together. The Bonati Pillar, the Chima Grande and the Dolomites, lots of climbs.
How long have you known him?
6, 7 years.
And what is your opinion of him?
As a climber or as a man?
Both.
Well, he's a marvelous man. He's considerate, sincere, religious man. You can trust him completely.
And as a climber, as a leader of climbers?
I'd say it was almost impossible to fault. He's a marvelous rock climber, first-class organizer, an inspiring leader. He wouldn't ask you to do anything he wouldn't attempt himself.
Had you climbed with Mr. Wainwright before this expedition?
No.
What was your impression of Mr. Wainwright?
A bastard, a real bastard. I'm sorry, my lord, but that's my opinion.
Mr. Berenson, I do not permit such language in my court. It gets us nowhere.
Yes, of course, my lord, I'm sorry.
You didn't like Mr. Wainwright?
No, he's a showman. Dennis Wainwright always comes first with him. The expedition a very poor second.
You mean Mr. Wainwright likes the fame and the glory?
That's exactly what I mean. For Wainwright, climbing's a business. He makes a living out of it.
Thank you, Mr. Berenson. That's all.
Mr. Berenson, you went with Captain Bowman to Camp 6, did you not, after Mr. Wainwright's radio message?
Yes.
Mr. Wainwright was present?
Yeah, he was on his own. He had been for days.
Yes, the 2 days that it had taken you and Captain Bowman to climb up to Camp 6.
Well, for God's sake, you should have seen what we were carrying. Supplies for 4 men.
4 men?
Yeah, me and Piers and Wainwright, and so we thought, MacPhail.
You knew Nielsen was dead?
Well, yeah, Wainwright had told Georgie Westlake about that over the radio.
Now, you arrived at Camp 6 and you found Mr. Wainwright on his own.
Yeah.
And you said that he'd been on his own for days.
Yeah.
How did you know?
Well, you can tell.
How?
Well, for God's sake, the state of the tent.
Indeed.
MacPhail's sleeping bag hadn't been slept in.
Well, I'm not a forensic expert on sleeping bags, Mr. Berenson, nor I suspect is the jury, so you'll have to do better than that to convince us.
His bag hadn't been slept in.
Then I repeat the question, how could you tell?
Well,
Was it rolled up?
no.
Then what was there about this sleeping bag that convinced you that it had not been slept in for 2 days? That's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, go on then, Mr. Berenson, answer that question.
Some ice had formed on part of the sleeping bag.
Well, at that altitude and those temperatures, I would have thought that ice tended to form fairly quickly, doesn't it?
Well, there was no ice on Wainwright's bag.
But he was in that, was he not?
He was sitting on it, in fact.
Well, then surely his own body temperature would have prevented ice forming on his sleeping
Well,
bag.
that's my whole point.
With respect, Mr. Berenson, it's not much of a point. Unless you can tell us precisely how long it takes for ice to form on a sleeping bag after someone has left it.
There was also ice on Nielsen's bag.
More or less ice than on MacPhail's.
About the same.
You sure?
Well, I didn't do a forensic test on it, if that's what you mean.
Well, that's precisely what I do mean, Mr. Berenson. Do you have any means of knowing when that ice formed?
I should have thought that was obvious.
Not to me, Mr. Berenson.
Well, it must have formed over the previous 2 days.
Why?
Well, when else would it have formed?
Well, an hour before you arrived, 2 hours before you arrived, the day before you arrived.
That's what you want to believe.
What I want to believe, or what you want to believe, isn't important, Mr. Berenson. This court is interested in facts, and not in beliefs.
There were also signs of only 1 lot of food having been eaten.
How could you tell?
1 dirty plate, 1 dirty mug, that's how.
But the other mugs and plates, they could have been clean, could they not?
Well, you don't make a fetish of washing dishes at 22,000 feet.
Well, how does one normally clean one's plate and one's mug at that altitude?
You rub it out in the snow, or you wipe it out with a towel or something?
Well, perhaps Stephen MacPhail had done that.
I don't think so. Look, I saw MacPhail's body. You didn't.
Oh, yes. What could you infer from his body?
That he'd been dead for some time.
How could you tell? Are you a doctor?
No, of course not.
Then I repeat the question. How could you tell?
Because MacPhail had tried to build a shelter around Nielsen's body. Now, why should MacPhail do that unless Nielsen had just fallen and was still alive?
Here we go again, Mr. Berenson. How do you know that MacPhail had built that shelter for Nielsen at all?
What?
Well, could he not have climbed back, this is MacPhail, from Camp 6 in a state of euphoria due to exhaustion, lack of oxygen, found that he didn't have the strength to move the body on his own, and then built the shelter, not for Nielsen at all, but for himself?
You're being fanciful.
No more fanciful, I think, than you are, Mr. Berenson.
Oh, rubbish.
Mr. Berenson, what kind of shelter is it that MacPhail is alleged to have built?
A windbreak, that's all it was, my lord. Just their packs and some piled up snow. It's not the temperature that's the killer at those altitudes, it's the icy winds, and if you can shelter from it, you stand a chance.
Now, Mr. Berenson, you say that you had your suspicions concerning Mr. Wainwright. If that's so, why have you never voiced them before?
Well, I did on the way down to base camp.
To whom did you voice them?
To George Westlake and Piers Bowman. Well, we talked about what had happened and found that we'd all come to the same conclusion. Wainwright had killed those two men.
On what evidence had Mr. Westlake come to that conclusion? He didn't accompany you to bring down the bodies of MacPhail and Nielsen, did he?
I don't know. You'll have to ask him.
Oh, I will, Mr. Berenson, I will. So you and Mr. Westlake and Captain Bowman, you discussed the tragedy on your way down to the base camp?
Yeah.
And that must have been on about May the 19th or 20th?
Yeah, I suppose so.
So that when you first went up to Mr. Wainwright at Camp 6, you had no suspicion of his alleged cowardice?
No, of course not.
Yet your suspicions were immediately aroused by the state of the tent. There you were, busily noting how much ice was on each sleeping bag.
Perhaps I didn't notice it immediately. Our first problem was to find MacPhail and Nielsen.
So it was only after you'd found the bodies that you became suspicious, and only after you were on your way to the base camp that you voiced those suspicions?
Yeah.
Are you sure, then, that the three of you weren't by then looking for a scapegoat?
No.
You've climbed together a lot, haven't you? You and Mr. Westlake and Captain Bowman.
Yes.
Always with Captain Bowman as the leader.
Yeah, well, like I said, he's a great climber, a fine leader.
A man you admire.
Yeah, and what's wrong with that?
A man whose reputation you'd want to protect at all costs.
What are you getting at?
I put it to you, Mr. Berenson, that you and Mr. Westlake and Captain Bowman have built up this vicious little story so that your much-admired leader would not be blamed for the assault on Choga Sar. And you, all three of you, know it is not true.
No, that's a lie.
No further questions, my lord.
Mr. Berenson, I would like to clarify a few matters raised by my learned friend.
Good, because he's got it all wrong.
Yes, I'm sure he has. Mr. Berenson, was there a careful, considered plot between the three of you to throw the blame onto Mr. Wainwright?
No, of course not. What blame, anyway? Well, expeditions have failed before, and they'll fail again. There's no blame attached to failure if you've all done your best. To hear him tell it, you think we were a bunch of Machiavellian hysterics. We were three guys coming down a mountain. I mean, we talked about what had happened. For God's sake, two of our party had been killed. Now, what else should we talk about? We find that none of us accepts Wainwright's story about having hallucinations. We come to the conclusion that his story just doesn't fit in with the facts as we've seen them. Well, at first, we keep all this to ourselves. But once he's back in this country and recovered his confidence, he starts writing articles and giving interviews as if he were Admiral Byrd of the Himalayas. Well, somebody had to stand up and tell the truth, if only for the sake of MacPhail and Nielsen. And Piers Bowman was the one man with the courage to do it. Thank God he did.
Now, if you had been in Mr. Wainwright's situation on that fatal climb, what would you have done?
I'd have stayed with Nielsen. Wainwright was the man with the experience of Himalayan conditions. If anyone could have kept Nielsen alive, it was Wainwright. I'd have stayed with Nielsen.
Thank you, Mr. Berenson. No further questions, my lord?
Well, you may leave the box, Mr. Berenson.
I call George Westlake.
What is your religion?
Church of England.
Take the book in your right hand and read aloud the words on this card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You are George Andrew Westlake of Flat 9A, Victoria Court, Edinburgh Street, South Kensington, London.
That's right.
You were a member of the Choga Sar expedition.
Yes, Berenson, Bowman and myself were the original three who started the whole idea of rolling.
Oh, yes. Now, you were at Camp 4, were you not, when Mr. Wainwright first radioed through with the news of the alleged death of Nielsen?
Yes.
Was anyone else with you?
No, I was alone.
Now, can you remember what Mr. Wainwright said?
Yes, he said that Nielsen had fallen and been killed.
Did he mention the circumstances of the fall?
He said they'd been making another assault on the summit, got within about 200 or 300 feet from the top when they were hit by an avalanche.
Did he mention MacPhail?
No.
Not at all?
No. Thinking about it, it was strange. One would have expected him to say something like, we're both okay or something like that.
But he didn't.
No.
Did you ask him about MacPhail?
Yes.
Well, what was Mr. Wainwright's reply?
There was just a load of static.
Static.
Well, reception was pretty bad.
How did Mr. Wainwright sound?
Indistinct.
No, I mean, did he sound upset in any way?
It's hard to say under the circumstances.
Did you ask to speak to MacPhail?
Yes.
Did you succeed in doing so?
No, Wainwright just switched off.
He switched off the radio the moment you asked to speak to MacPhail?
Yes, that surprised me until I discovered later that Nielsen was dead.
Did you voice your suspicions to anyone?
Later, when we were all back at base camp, I asked Joe Berenson about finding the bodies. I found he and Captain Bowman were the same opinion as myself.
And what opinion was that?
Wainwright saved his own skin and let MacPhail and possibly Nielsen die.
Now, apart from Captain Bowman and Mr. Berenson, did you tell anyone else what you suspected?
No.
Why not?
I didn't think anyone else would believe me. Look, I'm just an ordinary climber. I'm not a star like Wainwright. I mean, he writes books, he lectures, he designs equipment. Who'd have listened to me?
Captain Bowman spoke out.
Yes, but Piers Bowman's a remarkable man. It takes a lot of courage to stand up, particularly on television, and say that one of the stars of British mountaineering left two fellows to die on a mountain because he was scared.
Yes. Yes, I'm sure it does. Now, lastly, Mr. Westlake, in Mr. Wainwright's situation on Choga Sar, what would you have done?
I'd have stayed with Nielsen.
Thank you, Mr. Westlake.
Mr. Westlake, what would you have done if Nielsen had been dead?
Come back to Camp 6 and radio.
Mr. Westlake, I find it odd that you should base your condemnation of Mr. Wainwright on the, you admit, inaudible evidence of one radio message.
No, it wasn't just on that.
What was it then?
Wainwright's whole attitude when he came down from Camp 6.
What attitude?
Shifty. I can't think of a better word to describe it.
Nor could Captain Bowman, strangely enough. However, let's not delve into the limitations of your respective vocabularies. Instead, let us for a minute consider this radio message that you received at Camp 4. Now, presumably, you were as inaudible to Mr. Wainwright as he to you.
I don't know.
Well, surely the reception would have been as bad for both of you.
Possibly.
Now, you say you found it strange that he switched off the moment you mentioned Stephen MacPhail.
Yes.
Well, how do you know that he'd even heard you?
Because he said who? Oh, and then switched off.
Who? Oh.
Yes.
Now, do you seriously ask this court to believe that through, what did you call it, a load of static plus bad reception, you were able to detect a subtle nuance indicative of a guilty conscience in the way Mr. Wainwright pronounced vowel sounds?
All right. So you think it's funny?
Ooh, oh, sounds like a demented owl.
Have your little joke, but believe me, Wainwright switched off as soon as I mentioned MacPhail. But that's not all. Just look at his attitude since he returned to this country. He's laying pretty low, and that, believe me, isn't like Dennis Wainwright. I bet if Piers hadn't attacked him on TV, if Piers had written an article in some climbing magazine about him, Wainwright would have done nothing. Nothing at all. There'd be no libel case, nothing.
It's pure supposition on your part, Mr. Westlake.
Maybe, but I bet I know Dennis Wainwright a damn sight better than you do.
I put it to you, Mr. Westlake, that you would do anything, even stooping to slander Mr. Wainwright in order to save the reputation of your precious leader.
Look, MacPhail and Nielsen are dead. I didn't kill them, nor did Joe Berenson, nor did Piers Bowman. Wainwright was the only person on the mountain with them. He returned safely, they didn't. He was the Himalayan expert. He'd made a previous assault on the summit only a few days before. He knew the conditions, yet they died. Now, who could you blame?
The mountain, Mr. Westlake, the mountain.
Then I hope to God I never climb with you.
Most unlikely, Mr. Westlake. Merely climbing on a chair gives me vertigo. No further questions, my lord.
Mr. Westlake, I've only one further question. Have you and Mr. Berenson and Captain Bowman conspired together in order to blacken Mr. Wainwright's name?
Of course not.
Nevertheless, you agree with the evidence that Mr. Berenson and Captain Bowman have given in this court today?
Yes, it's the truth. It's the truth. Whatever he may say, we know that he was responsible for the deaths of Stephen MacPhail and Ben Nielsen.
Thank you. That concludes the case for the defendant, my lord.
Very well, you may leave the box, Mr. Westlake. Well, this would appear to be a convenient time to adjourn for lunch. Mr. Lotterby, you can begin your speech to the jury after the adjournment.
All stand.
All stand.
Well, Mr. Lotterby.
Lord. Members of the jury, whom do you believe, Mr. Wainwright or Captain Bowman? Now, during a television interview, Captain Bowman was asked a specific question. He could have lied, he could have said nothing, and thus avoided the entire court action. But that is not Captain Bowman's way. He told the truth as he saw it, without thought of any possible consequences to himself. He believed that Wainwright was responsible for the deaths of MacPhail and Nielsen, and that is what he told the television interviewer. And Captain Bowman was not the only member of the expedition to believe that. As we have heard, Joseph Berenson and George Westlake, both of whom were in a position to know, agree completely with Captain Bowman's allegedly libelous statement. And I'm confident, members of the jury, that you too will have reached the same conclusion. There were 3 men on that ill-fated attempt to reach the summit of Choga Sar. 3 men roped together. One of the men falls. The other 2 decide, very sensibly, to give up the assault on the summit and return to camp. Then an avalanche strikes. The man who had fallen is severely injured, and one of the 2 men decides to stay beside him, whilst the leader returns to camp to make radio contact with the rest of the party and perhaps bring back certain equipment. But once safely in camp, our experienced mountaineer, after sending one indistinct radio message, stays where he is, leaving his friends out on the mountain to die. And he invents, partly no doubt to salve his conscience, partly perhaps to preserve his heroic public image, a story of an hallucination. Now, Mr. Wainwright says that Nielsen was already dead when he left him on the mountain, and that he returned with MacPhail to camp, but that this was an hallucination. Well, what better excuse could Mr. Wainwright have invented? I mean, it's so convenient. No one can question an hallucination. No one can bring an hallucination into court. And, as everyone knows, there have been isolated cases reported of climbers suffering at high altitude from hallucinations. But as even Dr. Abel has admitted, there has never been one case reported of an hallucination lasting for 48 hours. Members of the jury, I submit that Captain Bowman was entirely justified in saying what he did in that television interview, and that you have no alternative but to dismiss this action.
My lord, members of the jury, this is a very distressing case. Here we have 2 internationally known climbers. Suddenly, one starts behaving like an hysterical schoolgirl, blaming the other for a tragedy which, in all honesty, neither can be held responsible for. Now, my learned friend can indulge in all the hypotheses he cares to, and Lord knows he has. But the only evidence we have about what happened on that last assault on Choga Sar is what Mr. Wainwright has told us. Now, you put yourself into Mr. Wainwright's position. If you had deliberately allowed one of your comrades to die out on a mountain, would you not have come up with a better story than Mr. Wainwright has? And remember, he had 2 whole days to think up such a story. Why not simply say that both men had been killed in the avalanche? Indeed, any story would have been better than to mention hallucinations. Sounds so stupid. Unless, of course, your audience has experience of high-altitude climbing. And remember, Mr. Wainwright has not wavered, nor altered his story one iota, even under fierce, not to say vitriolic, cross-examination. Well, if then Dennis Wainwright has told the truth, now ask why Captain Bowman has made these allegations. Captain Bowman has made it obvious that the worst word he knows is failure. And make no mistake, his first Himalayan expedition was a failure. And that's a fact that he has shown extreme reluctance to accept. So what better excuse could he find than to blame it all on a man whom he so obviously detests? Now, Captain Bowman accused Mr. Wainwright of cowardice because he turned back on the first assault. But the fact is, it was Dennis Wainwright who was prepared to go back and have a second go at the peak. Now, Captain Bowman has also brought along his 2 close friends, Messrs. Westlake and Berenson. I quote Mr. Westlake. "Since Dennis Wainwright returned to England, he's lain pretty low. That isn't like Mr. Wainwright. Mr. Westlake finds that shifty. I quote Mr. Berenson. When Dennis Wainwright returned to England, he started writing articles, giving interviews like Admiral Byrd of the Himalayas. And members of the jury, I'm sure you'll find those contradictory statements extremely shifty. Members of the jury, I put it to you that Captain Bowman is guilty of a most vicious libel, and I would ask you for very heavy damages to recompense my client, Mr. Wainwright, for this quite unfounded attack on his honour and on his reputation.
Now, members of the jury, I do not propose to repeat any of counsel's arguments which have been laid forcefully and clearly before you, nor do I intend to deal in any great length with the law, because the law in this case is perfectly clear. A man may tell the truth without fear of the consequences, because the truth is a perfectly acceptable defence in a case of libel. Now, Captain Bowman declares that the remarks he made on television about the conduct of Mr. Wainwright on the mountain Choga Sar were true. Now, it is for you to decide if they were, and it is for you to decide if you accept Captain Bowman's defence. Now, in such a case as this, the defendant has the burden of persuading you that it was more probable than not that what he said about the plaintiff was true. To put it another way, you must ask yourselves, has the defendant shown that on the balance of probabilities that the plaintiff was responsible for, through his cowardice, for the deaths of MacPhail and Nielsen? Now, if you think that the strictures on the plaintiff were unjustified, then you must fine for him. And then, of course, you must consider the damages that you should award him for his injured reputation. Now, remember, it was on television and was probably seen, or perhaps seen, shall we say, by millions. Now, the plaintiff, he sought to show that the defendant was motivated by malice. Now, if you accept that, you must add some more money to the damages for his loss of reputation to compensate for the fact that the libel was malicious. Now, members of the jury, will you kindly retire to consider your verdict?
Members of the jury, will your foreman please stand? Have you reached a verdict upon which you are all agreed?
Yes.
Do you find the plaintiff, Dennis Wainwright, was libelled by the defendant, Captain Piers Bowman?
Yes.
Have you agreed on a sum for damages to be awarded to Mr. Wainwright?
Yes.
What is the sum?
£23,000.
All stand.
Next week, you can join another jury when our cameras return to watch a leading case in the Crown Court.